Hey, everybody. We're here with Troy Brownfield, journalist, comic book writer, and college professor. And we're talking in particular today about X-Men for Dummies, which has just come out from Wiley Publishing. And we're going to be talking about Marvel Comics for Dummies, which Troy also wrote. And we'll be talking about some of the other stuff that he's got going on and has done in the past, because you have quite a career in writing for comics and genre in particular.
Yeah, some might say that.
Troy is the last of our dummies. We have interviewed all of the Marvel for Dummies writers.
Marvel's for Dummies.
We've saved the best for last. Troy, is that?
I wouldn't say that.
Well, you wrote the book on Marvel Comics, so that's
that kind of wraps it all up.
I got to say, I know Stuart and Justin and Gene are good friends of mine, so it's. I don't know the other guys as much, but it is a thing of community, right? So it is,
Yeah, we have had a good time interviewing you
we
guys.
really have. We've had a good, these have been some of the best interviews we've done, I think.
We've really had a good time.
Yeah, they've really been really great because it's talking to fans, essentially. Like, we're talking to people who are basically professional fans in a lot of ways, which is kind of what we are becoming.
Well, actually, people who are paid to be fans, basically.
Oh, right.
Paid to be a fan.
I keep forgetting we don't get paid.
We don't get paid.
But so X-Men for Dummies. How come X-Men? Why you with X-Men?
Well, I should probably back up a little bit because how the X-Men one happened kind of dovetails off of the first one.
Okay.
And the origin story of Marvel Comics for Dummies is so I was really for a long time actively involved in the music scene in Indianapolis. I was booking bands when I was in college at Indiana State, which is a Terre Haute, and then managing and booking bands with friends in them. And so I met Steve Hayes, who was the bass player of a local band called The Common, and Steve worked at Wiley Publishing and eventually became the executive editor of the Dummies line. And I've known Steve for more than 20 years, and I kind of figured we'd maybe work together on something because I knew him and he knew me and all that. And then in June of 24, he messages me and he's like, "Hey, can I give you a call? I got a thing." And this was the thing.
That's awesome.
He said that we've got a deal. We're going to do some Dummies books for Marvel, and we're looking at someone for Marvel Comics for Dummies. And was I interested? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And they had started a perspective outline, and so kind of my task to audition, more or less. I did my version of what the outline would look like and a sample chapter, and that went through Wiley and Marvel. And I think it helped because I did have this background with 7 years at Newsarama and all this other stuff that there was a couple of Marvel guys kind of knew who I was, and they already gotten Stuart Moore to do Captain America, and kind of knew, so there was like this, Steve knew, and there were some things that I think maybe helped, and then, the chapter and the outline kind of locked it up. So I got that. And at the time they were talking about 6 books, and then there was this whole of this 6th that there was maybe going to be something else, but that got pushed back, which you may hear about in the future. And so we're having this conversation, and Marvel Comics is going along, and I'm writing chapters to turn them in, and people are happy. And I'm talking to the staff, and I'm like, "What are you guys going to do about the 6th book?" Because I'd expressed an interest in the previous 6th book, and they're like, "Well, we just know that we are going to do one." And I'm like, "Well, if it's X-Men, I want it." And just straight out said it, and they're like, "Oh, well, we'll go back," and so they were having one of their regular meetings, and they're like, "Hey, what about X-Men for the 6th book?" And Marvel was, "Oh yeah, great." And then they're like, Troy said he's interested, and they were liking what I was doing on Marvel Comics for Dummies. So that happened pretty quickly. So very soon after I finished the first one, I started on the second one. And because you have, the first one came out early in this year, and the second one's coming out later in the year, but the others were already all scheduled and moving in this pattern of like pretty steady releases of,
when did X-Men come out? When did X-Men for Dummies come out?
It came out on January 22nd, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Actually, yeah, it's January 22nd because that was that was my wife and I's dating anniversary. Was January.
Oh, nice.
But then they followed in succession with Cap was right around the same period, and then FF and Avengers and Spider-Man was in November, and now this.
I mean, it's a great idea for anyone who's not at any level of fandom. So to me, I think the best part about these for me is that if you're a fan of the movies, but don't know much about the comic book, this gets you updated on the comic books, right? Especially something like this. Because this gets you updated on it.
There's a lot of talk on the internet that the X-Men are going to play a pretty big part in whatever the MCU does soon.
Right.
Like with Avengers Doomsday and all that other stuff. So we're probably going to have, and not to mention that the X-Men 97 animated series that Disney put out was so popular.
Yeah.
So you're going to have people coming from all these different directions who are going to want to know the source material. And that's really what these are great for.
Yeah, we want to, I won't be talking about like the movie and animated stuff so much.
No. Yeah, we don't know.
But I think it bears an important point that because I was recently rereading an article I'd written for the Post because it's just the one that was about the 50th anniversary of Wolverine, and I noted in there because I'd looked this up when the X-Men cartoon was airing in the 90s, it had 23 million viewers a week.
Yeah,
which that's crazy.
That's crazy.
That kind of TV doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, right. Because of all the divided viewership. But broadcast airings, they were pulling in 23 million. Wow. So you had already a boom of X-Men fans as you made that 91 leap with the 8 million selling #1 issue into this kind of period of toys and animation and everything. So that went like pear-shaped.
Yeah. That's like what the Super Bowl gets nowadays.
Yeah, it's like the 6-player stand-up video game came out about the same time. And
yes. Oh, that was a great game. I love that game, actually.
The actual video game?
Yeah, the stand-up?
Yeah.
That was a great one.
Yeah, so there was a big X-Men boom at that point.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been so big for so long.
I can't
throughout a lot of our life. It's been really.
I can't remember a time when I was into comics that the X-Men weren't near the top of the list.
Yeah,
as far as collectible or not collectibles, but like sales was always so high for X-Men. They dipped a little, I think, in the late 90s.
Now, I don't know how the sales are.
I honestly don't. It's so much harder to find sales numbers.
It's all broken
with
up
Comic
because of the sales tracking is all broken up because of the different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's really weird now. It's hard because there was a time when we first started this channel, we could figure out the #1 selling book for each month, and now I'm having a tough time.
It's a very tough time to do that now. Yeah,
it's a changing world.
So you said you wanted the X-Men specifically. You requested it. When did you first become an X-Men fan?
Well, I am 52 years old, and
me too. So are we. I'm 53.
In 1979, X-Men 125 came out. That was my first issue. It was beginning of the Proteus saga.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I was already reading Marvel. I was reading the Star Wars comic.
Right.
I had, I know a handful of others I had to a certainty. Like I had a Spectacular Spider-Man with Razorback. I had an Early Defenders. I had some stuff from about the same time. I still have most of those books. But 125, it's got, Phoenix on the cover with Moira testing her and then like a couple other things. And so it was the middle of like big activity in the book because Beast and Phoenix thought the X-Men were dead and the X-Men had been underground, like after fighting Magneto, come back to the Savage Land. And so there's a lot to absorb.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of hooked me right away. So, but I had an awareness of the X-Men based on ads in the other books where there was a very distinctive ad that's like, you remember the old X-Men, you're going to like the new X-Men. Yeah. It's like a tombstone for Thunderbird with the new team. And that was a house ad. And then there was like a 5-part ad with like the Avengers, the X-Men, like the Cockrum look when they were fighting the She-Hulk and the Invaders. So it was just like these 5. And so I had that in my head to the point where when I saw it, but I was pretty much immediately hooked. And that was like a great time to get hooked into that because you go from Proteus to Dark Phoenix to, it's just like a crazy acceleration of it. And, I started getting maybe like I started getting Avengers and other stuff, but on the back of that. But X-Men was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And as G.I. Joe and other things launched, like I knew people around to reading G.I. Joe, I knew people around to reading Spider-Man stuff. I really didn't know anybody else that was reading X-Men until I was about 10.
Yeah.
It was like 5th grade. And I met who would become like my lifelong best friend, a guy named Sean Delaney, and he knew who the X-Men were. It's like, holy crap, here's another X-Men guy, you know, and that's like one of those things immediately makes you. There's that joke that usually like women say it a lot on social media and stuff, like, you know, how hard it is to find friends, but two guys will like the same thing when they're 5 and they're friends.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yep, friends forever.
Yep,
that's all it takes.
Yeah. There's, somebody, I think it was Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth once said, in the Midwest, there were 2 guys in every town who liked the Stooges, and they became friends and then started bands. Like, that's like, you know, they gravitated toward each other, and that was it. Like, same thing with like comic fans and you know, all that stuff. Yeah,
especially back then, it was hard to find another comic fan.
Hard to find any
in the late 70s, and or even reveal that you were a comic fan.
Oh yeah, reveal you're a comic fan. Well, that was another thing.
I was also a spinner rack shopper, which I think that we mentioned in the first book a little bit, the idea of the grocery store spinner rack being where a lot of people in our age group got introduced.
Oh, and
I actually found I think it was about 1980, because there would be ads for Mile High Comics and other comic shops in
I remember that.
And like at some point it occurred to me, do we have a comic shop? And I looked in the phone book and found a couple of comic shops that were in town. And so I started to go to the comic shops, and as luck would have it, later on, I was taking music lessons on the same block as where one of the comic shops was. So I could go to the lesson, go to the shop, pick up something new that week. So I had a habit. It was about 9 or 10 where I could regularly hit that place. And of course they were only like 60 cents or whatever at that point in 1980 before, so it was not big encumbrance it would become.
not $4 a book like it is now.
Or 5. Yeah, even some of them. Because it's not this way anymore, but at the time it was a sort of low risk, you know, thing, like 25, 35 cents. You can get an old comic. And you know, you were good. You know, you had that. You read it 10 times and destroyed it eventually because you read it so many times.
You know, like $6 gets you 10 books. Joe figures were $1.47. It came for.
Right. Oh,
your money went a long way back then. Your birthday money really extended across multiple collectibles.
Yeah. You want to go?
Go ahead. So, how did you do the research for this? Because in all honesty, there is so much, and my question is twofold. There's so much of this, and when is part 2 coming out? Because there's so much going on now, even since this year. There's been so much going on.
I don't know.
No, go ahead. Sorry, you go.
I don't know if there's been the idea of like expanded volumes or anything pitched by anybody, but like that seems like kind of a natural down the road, right?
Part 2.
They might like do a revised or a like D&D manuals, you know?
Exactly.
Right.
That's how I envision it in my head. That you every couple of years we come out with, from 2025 to 2027. Here's all the stuff that happened.
And even in some of those things, like you could go back to maybe like Krakoan Age and even expand it more because there's so much going on.
There's so much going on.
Where I started, the very first thing I thought was the decade approach. Was that chapter kind of like the dueling philosophies that it starts with, like, you know, kind of articulating this is what Professor X believed, this is what Magneto believed, you should know these things at the top. And then like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it was kind of, you know, and then a break for introducing the other teams.
Yeah.
You know, this was kind of how I envisioned it from the beginning, and like everybody seemed, you know, happy with it. And then the parts of 10s at the end with the that are part of every Dummies book that are like lists of like, you know, and so the 10 like mutant animals, the 10 weird powers, you know, those were pretty natural.
Everyone loves less.
Like, 10 unforgettable X-Men, forget me not 10 times. That was my gag, which they let me keep. So that was cool. Because in both books, there's like a couple of jokes that are just like, trying to keep it light. But so we went with this thing of initially, if you look that like the storylines of the 60s and the new characters, and then storylines of the 70s, the new teammates, new villains, and kind of kept that pretty much until where the scope is expanded so much that there's so many new characters that you can't do all the new characters. And that, if there's anything that I had an immediate wish I could have done more, is like wish I could list, but then you go into danger of becoming like a encyclopedia or a roll call kind of thing where it's just like dust turns into dust, Wolverine dies early. These kinds of things where it's like, that we're so I think that it's the most sensible way to present it. And then when we get to the end, even though that From the Ashes books have started, I went with kind of encapsulations of what the new books are about, because it's still really easy to catch up on those. And try to do it without, like, here's the premises without big spoilers, because you can like go to the shop right now and get the first couple, 3 trades of all of those books. And a couple of them have even now ended, like the X-Force, is ended and is probably going to do a new volume. So you can easily pick that up and read it. So I wanted to make it like, this is what it's about, so you can check it out, but without spoiling the stuff that's going on right now.
You'd have to be careful about that. You don't want to ruin what's going on.
Because I knew it would hit right about now.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, you locked yourself in a room for a couple of months and just read
X-Men comics.
Well, sounds like the greatest job ever.
We joke about this. There was a whole lot of the 60s through 80s in particular. I didn't have to spend as much time going over. That was a lot more because I had grown up in that, was immersed in it, and that's the stuff I've read the most over and over, and the trivia stuff I can shoot off pretty well. But then once it got, I was still reading, collecting the 90s and everything, but like I start college in 91 and everything becomes very different. It's like
same here.
I'm not rereading everything as much. I have it, but so like this first part is like moves real fast, and this other part moves slower. Because there is a lot more what you're talking about going back, and it is easy in a way to outline that because they have a lot of big events. So you say, the 80s, it's like you do have that arc of like, okay, Mutant Massacre, Fall of the Mutants, Inferno, etc., and you can like use those as the tent poles for each chapter, and so you kind of know going into the 90s, Onslaught and everything, you can kind of Age of Apocalypse follow that same arc, and that lends itself to, well, these are the highlights. Obviously, I need to structure stuff around the highlights, and it does make it a little easier to do. But you're right, as you have more books and more characters and more complications, it's the first part of the book was faster, and the second part of the book was.
And I always think of like, you bring in, do you even bring in the Children of the Atom storyline that Bendis did with the original X-Men time traveling
it's
now?
In the book.
I know. But how do you like? That messes the continuity so much that you're like, does that get too confusing? I wonder if were those part of your thinking?
Well, that's why we need this book. Unconfused and confusing.
I try to keep it as condensed as I could in the segments where you have kind of so many ongoing titles.
And
so, because the Children of the Atom part, when they come in, it's a couple of years that lasts, and like the Battle of the Atom crossover was significant, and so that's put in there. I didn't really do much except for a couple of sentences maybe about the Guardians crossover they had.
Yes, I remember that.
And then went, kind of segued into them going back to the past. There's actually a picture, like the panel where they have gone back past right before they forget, that we use that panel for the art there. So it does kind of get across the idea of the story, but it is, like you said, that some of them are very complicated and it's hard to necessarily work everything in a, I went for coherence. overall. And maybe if you had to leave something out, then it was because, it wasn't at like the expense of story. It was to make everything else understandable
Yes.
in as linear way as possible.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely the most useful of the dummy books, in my opinion.
Yeah, because the X-Men is.
I mean, like Captain America is pretty clear cut to me. That's like,
Yeah,
I
you
can follow
have the
Captain America.
stages,
Yeah.
and then
X-Men. At one point there was. I mean, and I don't read current really. I don't know if you're still reading with like Age of Revelation, which is going on right now, which is so like. It's so weird to me. Like it's a strange one for me.
Yeah,
because I collect weeklies consistently, so I'm collecting only I think 3 of the titles, but not all of them because there's just so many. There is so much going on with the X-Men right now. There's like 3 different storylines going on across
all the titles. Yeah,
I'm a little bit behind, admittedly, a lot because of this.
Yes.
Because this didn't wrap up that long ago, because their turnaround is really fast,
right?
And as the stuff was in proofing and everything, I was just like, I was not where I was caught up.
Right.
As I mentioned, I've read Jed's consistently, X-Men book, and I've read a couple of the others pretty consistently, but I'm behind on the Apocalypse.
The Revelation, and as they were doing, there's an Age of Apocalypse thing going on too now, like a redo of that. But it's just and the sheer amount of characters that just have been around.
I know
recently, like this one to me, X-Men had to be the hardest one to write.
I feel like that's the one that's the hardest to me.
And you wrote all of Marvel. Which one was harder to write, all of Marvel or X-Men?
Honestly, I think that the Marvel one was probably easier.
Yeah.
Right. They each have their own challenges. Like the Marvel one, we did a lot of history up front.
Right. Yeah.
And that is, research and, used various sources for that. There have been a couple of good books produced about the history of Marvel, but then, it bears note that, these books are, as a line, are really tightly edited and vetted. It doesn't just go through Wiley; it goes through Marvel.
Yeah.
So I would get, edits or notes back on each chapter, and it would be Wiley folk, sometimes about really formatting or whatever, and then Marvel notes like, "Oh, could you say this?" Or we want to phrase this thing particularly because it's maybe a continuity issue or whatever.
Okay. Right.
But so they got seen every chapter by multiple Wiley and Marvel eyes for all the books all the way through. So there's a lot of attention paid. And so Marvel in the beginning, making sure all the history stuff is right and everything, because that covers the first, that's like 2 full chapters of history stuff ramping up to, because I go through the 40s and timely and everything. And then I get to, the 60s launch and all that. So that's a little bit harder. But then the parts that are like, we set it up with kind of geography and teams and then go into the character bios. And the character bios part was probably the most fun, of the Marvel Comics book. But there's a lot that's the hero bios and the villain bios and everything. And that list had, I wouldn't say there's like back and forth in a negative way, but we had a couple of things where, and the main comment was, can you put some more people in that were like, because we had a couple of sections that maybe had a couple of people that were fewer. And you do notice there are fewer X-Men in the Marvel Comics for Dummies book, but that's more on the line of probably knowing that the other one's going to answer a lot of that, because I think we've got like a big 5 and then mention some of the other ones, but it's like Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean, Storm, Cable, I think. And then, into the big storylines, which was another thing that we thought was important. And then that covers like everybody. So you've got, Death of Gwen Stacy, Dark Phoenix. We did that through decades.
Yeah. Right.
And so like that was also a little easier maybe than the history part was, because if you've read the stuff, the stuff, like writing the recaps of those is not as say challenging.
Yeah, you have
as
to be a
when,
comic book guy to write these.
Yeah.
You have to know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
and then the X-Men book with like the chronology, the character bios are pretty easy. The chronology is increasingly like a video game. Your difficulty levels up the further you go.
Yeah.
Like so that's kind of what I hope that's a complete enough answer for that. But it's it was fun. I mean, it's one of the things that's kind of funny when you talk about, because it's like it's work, and it is frequently very hard work. But there are way worse jobs to be doing. Oh, I worked so hard writing about Krakoa today. Oh,
I had to research Wolverine. That was so hard. Who is your favorite X-Men?
My favorite X-Men is Cyclops.
Okay.
Good. Had many arguments about that, but but and I was very happy to see him done right, and X-Men '97 making a side note on that when I was pleased to see how he's represented in that animation. And I do like how he comes across, in more recent years, because they've kind of, they didn't do him any services by making him like the straight man to Wolverine. At that part when and I don't think that they necessarily intended that. Nobody knew, I think, that Wolverine was going to blow up the way that he did, like in the Hellfire Club scene. And then just that kind of way that he gets played off of in other media. But one of the things I thought was really cool that Hickman did was very quickly in House of X establish Cyclops as a badass. Xavier and Magneto are sending that mission to the Mother Mold, and they're like, everybody's probably going to die, and he's like, does it need to be done? Yes, then it will be done. And they established that, and they kept it. And into the new series where Jed McKay is writing, and Cyclops has the standoff with the one government agent, and he's like, you don't understand how much restraint we have. We could drop Juggernaut on Washington, D.C. from orbit. We could do all this we've never done. It's like, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. And, that kind of speech is great. So I'm kind of glad that they've, if you read over a long period of time, you kind of see this thing from like guy who can't control his powers, doesn't know who he is, to kind of mutant revolutionary, to kind of statesman of the cause. Will fight Captain America if he has to, but and I think it's just a really interesting character that maybe doesn't get a lot of credit in some ways, because everybody loves Wolverine.
Right, and it's funny how that works. Like a character like Wolverine and Deadpool is another later example. There's no intention to make them popular, but they just take off on their own, and it's impossible to control.
But sometimes they, as characters, even though they're really popular, they don't have as interesting an arc as other characters. It's like I always thought Nightcrawler had such a great character arc.
He's never been
years.
Really that popular.
I know, but he has such a great character arc. I mean, going from like the circus sideshow freak to like a priest, it was such an interesting transition through what he was.
It's never really popular.
I know.
I always thought Beast was a great.
Beast is a great character.
Never really got the credit he deserved as a Wolverine or a Deadpool, who are massively popular now.
I wanted to ask you about something that before all of this.
Sure.
You wrote for Fangoria Comics for a while.
Yeah, I was the associate editor on that line. The stuff I was going to write never got to come out, but I was part of that. That was a weird time. Basically, short form, I had met Scott Lucina, who was doing Midnight Show comics, and he had a book out called Great Girls, which is pretty cool, and I'd reviewed it for Newsarama. And here's the spooky part, because it's good for Fangoria. I had a friend named James Elledge, who's a good friend of mine. Always wore a hat, played blues guitar, died young, just had a brain event and passed away. And so I was at a show in Chicago, doing Newsarama stuff, because I wrote for Newsarama for a long time. And I was looking for that booth, because we'd exchanged some emails after I reviewed his book and everything. And as I got close, I saw this dude, and he looked shockingly like my friend James who had passed away. And it was Scott Lucina from I'd found at the Grave Girls booth. I was like, wow. And it was just weird. So it fits in with the whole Fango thing. But we started talking, and so we talked about maybe me doing something there. And not long after that, he's like, hey man, we're not going to be Midnight Show. We're going to be Fangoria. And I was like, what? And he had pitched Tom DeFeo on the line, and the line came together. And part of the thing was that a lot of those people had pre-existing relationships with the company, like Robert Kurtzman, special effects genius, who put Rage, so that Beyond the Valley of the Rage comic, and then Snyder Strangeland, because Dee was the radio host for radio, and Scott and Mark Kidwell's book Bump, and then there's going to be one with Michael Madsen. So all these things started coming together like real fast, and they're like, "You're associate editor." I'm like, "Great." So so we were working on that, and we went to San Diego 07, promoting the line, and then stuff started coming out. At first, we had stuff coming out in comic shops and in bookstores. So like Bump #1 was at Barnes & Noble. It sold 15,000 copies at #1 through Barnes & Noble. It was on the rack next to Fango, the magazine.
That's great. Yeah.
But this is also a time of really intense money craziness in the company. And so there was all this, there was like bankruptcy and turnover, and a warehouse burned down, and like all this crazy stuff was going on. And so the line ended before everything had come out, like from that first batch of books. And so it was like all of Bump came out, all of Rage, Death Walks the Streets came out. Trying to remember, but yeah, it's like some of the books had come out, and some were only like one issue because of where it stopped, like Strangeland wasn't completed and things like that. And then we tried to revive it under another banner, and
the Scream Factory, right?
Before Shout Factory transitioned their horror line into Scream Factory.
Right, yeah.
And so that existed for a little bit, but it was, challenging marketplace is the best way to say it. There's a lot of volatility in that 2000s and stuff. And so the stuff that I would have written there as a writer didn't happen. But as I kept doing, as I was doing all of this stuff for Newsarama and meeting lots of people, it just availed me of connections and opportunities. And that's like when Zenescope asked, if I had any interest in stuff.
Right.
So that first Tales from Wonderland I gave them 3 pitches, and they liked the White Knight best. And I did that, and then I got into Dynamite, and it was just one of those things where it was
you wrote Buck Rogers for Dynamite, right? The Buck Rogers annual?
Matt Brady, who is the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Newsarama, and I co-wrote a Buck Rogers annual, which was awesome fun. My favorite part of that book, if you've ever get a look at it, is there's like a 2-page spread of a message that Buck's girlfriend left him from the past, but at this point she's 80 and he's never come back, and she leaves it, and we wove lyrics from the theme song from the movie into the dialogue of
really?
cackling like idiots the whole time that we're doing this. And, that's like, this is so shameless that you're doing this. But it's because if you've seen the Buck Rogers, Gil Gerard movie, there's the opening theme with lyrics.
That had lyrics in it. Yeah, in the movie version. Lennon.
And so we have lyrics from the song in her monologue to Buck. And that's like one of my favorite things about that. But, so, and sometimes these things like build on stuff quickly. So like I did that White Knight story, and they asked me if I wanted to do some Grimm Fairy Tales, had a spin-off called Grimm Fairy Tales Myths and Legends. And like, okay, we got this arc coming up, and do you want to work on it? And I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden Raven's online. Raven Gregory is like, Troy Brownfield's new regular writer in Myths and Legends. I'm like, okay. And so sometimes things happen like that, and sometimes they don't.
What are you working on now? Do you have anything?
Well, trying to get
you can
back.
talk about.
I did an online comic that has had like 16 complete issues of it, which is Spark Shooter, which is based on my experiences with local bands.
Okay.
Working that, it's like a comedy, like I guess maybe drama, but about what it's like to be in a band in the early 2000s. And but Steve Hayes from Wiley actually appeared in a panel
No.
But way before this. But I've only got like 2 parts left, and pandemic era we kind of stopped because like nobody could do anything.
Right.
And, but my friend Paolo Yonami may be drawing it. He's from Brazil. He's done a lot of Dynamite and Tidal Wave and stuff, and I've written some of his Midnight Witch book that comes out in Brazil and here. I've written some of those, so Paolo may be doing some of that art as we go to finish the last couple of chapters of it. The artist who drew the most of it, Incaru, is from Spain, and she's been having great success in Spain, but she had a certain point between, she drew 3 through 13, and then she had so much work in demand from like graphic design and other stuff in Europe that she had to kind of stop. And so, but she's wildly successful over there, and I'm extremely proud of her. But, so then I transitioned to a couple of other artists and stuff, and it was, as the pandemic thing was going on, everybody's like scrambling for what they can do, and just had to pause. And so it's kind of just sat for a little bit, but that's mine. So it's not like I'm owing anybody.
Where can people find that?
You can find it weirdly enough, I've got it parked at a Facebook page for Spark Shooter now.
Okay.
Because so if you just if you go to my stuff, sparkshooter.com does point to it, and you can read all of that and the little companion thing we did with it called Solo Acoustic, which started out as single panel online comics and then becomes like an actual comic. It's 2 parts. It goes along with the other story. It's about a guy trying to be a solo acoustic musician in Indianapolis and not having a lot of success with it.
Okay.
But I'd say Spark Shooter is probably the thing that I've written that's most me.
Right.
But I've done a lot of this horror and fantasy stuff too. Like I always thought maybe I would write superhero stuff, and it's the thing I've done the least of.
And you seem to be an expert. You're the Marvel and X-Men expert.
Yeah,
right. I think.
I don't know. It's funny how people see you sometimes, because that when the Prince Dracula book I did for Dynamite, when they were doing novels, like Chuck Dixon was doing like SEAL Team 6 stuff and everything, and they had talked to me about doing the book that became Blood Queen, which I did 2 minis of. At the same time, they talked to me about the Prince Dracula thing, and my first thing was like, well, I do it like Hammer, because Hammer, big thing. If you're just retelling the novel from like Mina's point of view or whatever, then I'm just going to make it a Hammer thing. And they were thought they were really that was everybody was really cool with that, and so that became the impetus for doing that way. But that was pretty close to the same time as the Blood Queen comic, which was sort of a cross between Elizabeth Bathory and Snow White, but that didn't get a go as long as it was very metal influenced. My intention was to name, and I did the 2 arcs and the minis and the annual. Everything's named after a Slayer album.
Oh, really?
Yeah. so like World Painted Blood, and there were the 3 that came out. So that was like going to be my intention, was that we'd go through all the Slayer albums, and and there was to be another kingdom introduced that was named after like Ronnie James Dio's birth name and stuff like that. It was like all a lot of metal.
That's very funny.
Metal and Hammer, and but yeah, it's funny because that was like all the when you get into this, and like all the things that influence you come out.
Right.
And,
of course. Yeah.
So horror, metal, and superheroes.
Horror, metal, superheroes. Yeah.
And my oldest just walked through. Is that right, kid?
The Dummies, X-Men Dummies.
Horror, metal, and superheroes. Yep.
To define Troy Brownfield, horror, metal,
superheroes.
So I asked you about X-Men. What's your favorite Marvel character?
Oh man. Well, obviously, like I said, Cyclops is up there since X-Men. But and I'm. It's weird because you always kind of waffle a little bit on the different things, but I feel like it's almost kind of a cheat to say Spidey in a way, but because everybody loves Spider-Man,
right?
You live with like the characters so long, but I also like a lot of minor characters in a way. Like it's been kind of like a big fan of Stingray when he gets to show up.
I'm a fan of Stingray, Jack of Hearts.
Yeah, like there's a lot of.
Is my favorite, though. It's all like really not. I'm not a big fan of the big names in Marvel.
I love the Abnett and Lanning Guardians run. I mean, a lot of people obviously did because it's kind of what got the movie.
Yeah.
But that Abnett and Lanning Guardians is terrific. If you go back to Xmen, like not that I don't like Wolverine, but like Storm. You mentioned Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler's great.
Yeah, I love Nightcrawler.
There's a lot of the funny thing in my head, I'm going through like my Marvel Legends shelves in the basement. I'm like, Alpha Flight. I've always been.
Alpha Flight. I've always been a fan.
More Alpha Flight. We've talked about like, hey, if they make an Alpha Flight movie, what Canadian actors should play?
Alpha Flight's a good one.
That's true. That's hard to figure out who would be Guardian.
Well, I know you guys ever watch The Expanse. Because
I have
the
watched
actress who plays Drummer, she's indigenous background from Canada. I always thought she'd be a great talent.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like we've had this conversation a million times. But yeah, I love to see more of Alpha Flight because they pop up every once in a while. You had there was the Fear Itself miniseries, which is pretty great. And then they had the one shot with the 3-part, and then they had the X-Men where they were pretending to be on Orcus's side, but they weren't. They like the half were pretending they were smuggling the mutants out. That was good stuff. So anytime that they show up, I'm pleased. I've really followed the Imperial stuff. Because
I've been reading that too. That's been very good.
I have it all collected.
Yeah, that's been really good.
Yeah, I do like the cosmic characters a lot. But
you're still reading new comics, like you're buying and reading new comics.
Yeah, I should throw Nova in there too because Nova's
a great character. Yeah,
great character.
Yeah, I've got those
new series just started.
Yeah, I have the complete collections of the 70s material, and then a lot of new Warriors and everything. Weirdly enough, when they made those new Warriors trades, the complete collection trades, they skipped the Trial of Justice in there.
Really?
And they've never done new Warriors epic collections, so I'm like kind of waiting for collections to come out so I can get like number 2 and fill in. Yeah, because they did like 1, 2, 3, and then right where it's like that 7 or so issues, because then they skipped to Darkness and Light with the female Turbo joining, and there's like this little gap in there. I've got the original issues, so it's not that much.
I have all the regular 1 issues. I have that whole run. I finished that
the new Warriors
of the new Warriors. Alpha Flight too. I finished recently too.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to see that they've got that omnibus of the Bill Mantlo Alpha Flight stuff coming out. I
love Bill Mantlo's work.
Yeah,
I really do.
I'm getting ROM and Micronauts in the epic collections because I had spotty Micronauts issues here and there, and I only had a couple of ROM, but I used to read them at the rack, And,
Yeah. I finished the Micronauts run about a year ago, and I was rereading it, and I was just thinking, like, that is so much better than it should have been. Like, it makes no sense that it worked so well, and he just did such a great job writing it,
Well, and those books really moved in the 80s. I always felt, I don't know if this is probably not something that could be a Dummies book because it's all of the various licensing nightmares that it would be. But, man, the licensed books at Marvel at 70s and 80s Marvel were crazy and awesome.
Some of them are very good, yeah.
I'm collecting ROM right now, so you did I'm doing ROM.
ROM is great.
Yeah, like Godzilla and Red Sonja, Star Wars, Micronauts. So this is a big chunk of publishing.
There's a whole bunch of really interesting comics.
That era of Conan was great. The Marvel run on Conan was fantastic. There were some really great people working on that.
So if you could, what would be your next Dummies book? If you
just like out of the blue, whatever you want.
You can write another Dummies book. They come to you and say, write something.
And why would it be
honestly? The thing that I would most like to do would be like a cosmic one. Like maybe it would probably have to be like a Guardians of the Galaxy,
right?
But because that would be the thing I think that gets people in the door,
right.
But I would do it as more of a like
the Kree, the Skrull,
monopoly of the cosmic
of everything. Because here's the thing about you couldn't do an Alpha Flight because really. Who's gonna buy Alpha Flight?
Only like real hardcore comic people,
right? Yeah,
and there's a lot of big names that if there's a second wave, obviously there's like Hulk, Thor, Iron Man,
right?
Sure.
Daredevil, maybe. We've all of us. When I say all of us writers and people have kicked it around, and like would a Midnight Suns one work? Would this
Right.
work? Would this work? Like those different things with like Marvel's New York for Dummies, where it's like all the street level.
That would be that's
But,
great.
like,
Street
it's
levels,
gotta
yeah.
it's got to be in a thing that's going to appeal not just to the hardcore, but
Right.
the novice. And I
Right.
think that like you get too specific, it becomes harder to sell that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, I really do. With
So,
some
like,
characters,
that's
it's
why-
impossible. Like
Like,
that's what you do. But see, I think like this one, you can do. This would be the easiest one to do a second edition of and cover, like
Yeah.
you said, something a little bit more obscure in it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like Marvel Comics for Dummies Volume 2.
Right. And then
You
go
like
into
this,
stuff
there's
you could
more
go
of
into.
that.
Yeah, I mean that's an easy way to sell it, but that's
Yeah.
I thought these were really great ideas.
They are.
And that's why how we ended up interviewing all of you is I picked up Fantastic Four for Dummies. I'm a big Fantastic Four fan, and I'm putting a run together now. It's a labor of love and probably never be completed. But as soon as I started, like this is genius that you're pulling in people from all different levels of fandom to come and read these. And it's funny. I reached out to Wiley, and right away they're like, "Yeah, we'd love for you to interview
Yeah.
all of them." And we ended up. You are our last one of the Marvel ones. I mean, you're the only one that wrote 2, right? So you wrote 2. You're our last
Well,
one. We have a collection of 5 now.
Well, I want to give, since you mentioned the FF one, Justin
was great.
good friend of mine. When they were asking about other people, and like I specifically mentioned Gene for Avengers, and then Justin in general, and Gene also mentioned Justin. So I think that was a pretty
That got him. Oh, he was great. We had him. He was our first one, Justin, because we did the Fantastic Four first.
Yeah.
He was our first interview, and he actually suggested all you guys that we should interview you guys.
Yeah.
And that's how this got kicked off.
well,
After interviewing him.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a mutual admiration society over.
Yeah. And where are you located? Like, where are you in the
I'm
country?
in Indianapolis, and
Oh, okay.
Justin's in LA, and
Yeah.
Gene's wherever Gene is. No, there's everybody's. But no, I am the central location.
Yeah.
Middle.
We're in New York. We're in New York right now. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of you is in New York. Is Gene
Stuart?
in New York?
I think Stuart's.
Stuart's in New York. Stuart Morris
Yeah.
in New York?
Pretty sure he's in New York. I think he was in Manhattan.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I know one we mentioned to one, but we're really enjoying these. Where are you recommending people go to buy these?
There are some local comic shops that are stocking them. So if I would start there.
Right.
And if your comic shop doesn't have it, then they're widely available in store and online. Your Barnes and Nobles, your Amazons, etc. There have been some specials running for the holidays at
Great
both.
gift.
Amazon has had the Marvel one lower. I can't tell you what the price is today, but it's because they had it as a holiday deal. It might have been a Cyber Monday.
It's definitely a good gift for comic book. It's a great gift for comic book fans because it's most people don't have it yet and they will enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, the X-Men
we
one-
enjoyed them.
X-Men is full price pre-order, but that comes out in a week. So from our
This isn't out yet. This isn't out yet.
that'll be out the 16th. It'll be out.
Got an advanced copy.
I didn't realize I got an advance copy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that I got this early.
yeah, a week from today.
I just got this. I got this last week. I think for this interview.
I got my box a couple of weeks ago of my copies.
Nice.
One of the coolest things, because Wiley is an international company, is that they've got editions in Spanish and Italian to some of them. So when I got my Marvel Comics for Dummies in Italian, it's one of the crazier experiences I've had with something I read, because I'm looking at, you'll know the gag because you've seen the book, because this was one of those jokes I mentioned when the Groot bio, I said, can the Groot bio just be I am Groot? And everybody was like, yes, 100% on board with that. And so I don't remember what it is in Italian, because I'm going to probably say Spain.
So it's not I am Groot in Italian.
It's like Soyamo Groot or whatever. They kept it. It's just in Italian. It's the funniest thing to me. That's the other thing this shows you how great everybody was. I pitched doing She-Hulk, in first person for her bio because she always breaks the fourth wall.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Fourth wall where she tears the page in half.
Yes.
Because they let us pick most of the art. Most of the art that's in the book, we picked
It's
out.
from you.
That's great.
And then the Deadpool page, I knew Deadpool would come afterwards. So I had, She-Hulk talk about the fact that she broke the fourth wall first, and then Deadpool complained about that, she came first, so she got to talk about, and everybody was cool with that. And I'm like, that's great that they was playful and fun, and nobody was making it too. The cows weren't that sacred,
Yeah, right.
Go pick them up.
It is comics, and they're supposed to be fun.
If you don't have them and you're listening, go pick these up. It's worth every penny of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. I really, when fans tell you they liked it, it makes it's a big deal because I tell you, we had. I'm not going to say imposter syndrome is the right word, but I think when Gene and Justin and I talked about the process a lot while we were doing it, that's one of the things is like, oh, are we going to get killed on this? Or are we going to...
Right. You
I had to leave this out.
True collectors.
Well, yeah, because
the real collector's going to go, oh, really?
Sometimes fandoms can be very, very toxic.
You think?
And yeah, you don't know how they're going to jump,
I also write trading cards for tops for Star Wars a lot.
Oh, really? So you know about fandom.
So you know about fandom.
Oh.
Yeah.
The most toxic of all fandoms.
It's probably one of the
100%.
I've written about 2,500
really
Star Wars trading cards.
Oh my god!
For the thing, I've done a lot of it. I did Skylanders and Halo years ago, and then I've done a bunch of sets, like because they come out in sets of like 100.
Sure.
And at the end of last year, I think I did 300 in a clump, pretty close together. But yeah, those rack up fast.
Yeah.
When you do those, but no, I'm just really pleased with the reader response to these because they are not. How do I put it? None of it was ever meant to be like the last word. Everything is meant to be. I kind of put it, and I think I said this in the first book that this is like a survey course. This is 101. It's nobody's PhD course on it. This is
right.
It's all an introduction, and that if you're new, you'll read it and you'll learn a lot. And if you have been around a while, you'll enjoy the familiarity and probably maybe pick up a couple of things that you didn't remember or something that you didn't know.
It's a great way to catch up too.
Yeah, that's really good.
If you're getting old and your memory is not working like it used to, it's a great way to back.
You know what's funny about it? And I've always been kind of this way, but like you write something and then it kind of goes out of your head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you go back and you look and you're like, yeah, it's pretty good, and it's you kind of forget
that. That's great job.
I was having a good day here. This is
I'm a good writer.
That's great.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for being with us.
We'd love to have you come back on and read the 2,500 Star Wars cards for us.
Yeah, why not?
Just oh my god,
we could do like a whole.
I don't have any of them.
We could do a whole thing, and you could just read each one.
Yeah, I could get the spreadsheets out and be like,
there you go.
I tell you that the gag of that, the funniest thing, is because you frequently have the same character,
right?
Because of stuff, and so I'll open maybe 4 or 5 old versions, so I'm not doing the same thing over again because I don't want anyone to accuse me of cutting and pasting it all. It's like, how do I rewrite Luke Skywalker from a New Hook?
What's new to say
now? So you'll be the guy who writes Star Wars for Dummies then,
if they ever get that. Yeah,
I don't.
That's a good one.
It's part of the Disney family. It's part of the same family.
I know. How hard could it be to get that next?
Happens, but the nightmare of that, and I don't mean it. I mean, how do you include? Like, do you do the extended universe? Does any of that stuff count? Does it?
Yeah. How do you take on Legends, right?
Or the comic? Yeah. I mean, you could do
Legends,
Star Wars novels.
Yeah. Oh, that would be.
Oh, it's a great idea. I'm waiting for it. Let me know when you put that out, Troy.
That's a trilogy. That's a
you're right.
Star Wars
3 volumes.
Yeah. Oh,
perfect. Thank you so much.
It's been so much fun.
We had a great time.
And best of luck with everything.
Yeah, let us know when the next round comes out. We'd love to have you back on.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, you guys have a great holiday season.
Thank you. You too.
You got something? If you got something coming out, don't reach out. Let us know. We'll have you back on.
Anytime.
Yeah, and if people want to see, I'm the executive editor at the Saturday Evening Post. So if they want to check out SaturdayEveningPost.com, I do a lot of pop culture stuff there. Like
Awesome.
most recent cool thing I think that this audience would probably like. I did something in October on the best made for TV horror movies of the 70s and 80s.
Oh, I got a lot to say about that.
So I bet, yeah, people really are. I did 10, so you can take a look.
We'll put the links in the description. So, you go there now, right after this video.
Oh, I've been buying those on Blu-ray.
There you go. Thank you,
Yeah,
Troy.
so that's probably something. So, all right.
Awesome.
Can't wait. We'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
I'll have you on just for that.
There you go. Take care.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Bye.